all colleges that are not CUNY, that are not SUNY, and you do not need to apply, or they don't have a website or like an online portal on their actual website, like stjohns.com or whatever it is, on their actual website to apply, you need to use the Common application. So the Common app has like a whole bunch of colleges that you can apply to. Each college has its own different deadline. And what the Common app does, which is really nice, is that once you put them into your like dashboard and you say that you want to apply to them, it shows you when all the deadlines are and how soon they are, and if a writing supplement is required. So make sure you are always up, you always check in to see that dashboard of yours so that you can see when the applications are due and how much information you need to provide them. So there are over 600 colleges on the Common app, and it's really easy to manage them, as I mentioned. Some colleges, like let's say you were really interested in in Fordham University and you've been going to their open houses, sometimes those colleges might email you and give you a fee waiver. If those colleges email you and give you a fee waiver, you could put in the code on Common app and it'll give you the fee waiver, so you don't have to pay for that application fee. So Common app has a general application prompt, and we're going to talk about the essays in a little bit. So these essays, you need to start them once again way in advance, get so many people to read them. I could read them, all of us are here and available to help you. Get your guidance counselors to read them, your friends, your mom, your dad. You need as much feedback as possible on these essays because they're literally a reflection of who you are to these colleges. They don't really have anything else to parcel you versus a different applicant other than your scores and this essay. So make sure you put a lot of time and effort into it. And then once again, set up a Parchment account. So Parchment, make sure you check in with your high schools because once again, they might be a little different for each high school. So I briefly mentioned this, your school-specific application. So some schools just don't want to use Common App. They say, no, we want our students to come on our website. So I know when I was applying to colleges, which was a really long time ago, I guess 4 years, 5 years, but for St. John's was not on the Common App. So I had to go on St. John's website and actually apply through the website and give them whatever materials that they required on the website. And the same thing here, they gave me a fee waiver in my email because I went to a lot of open houses. So check your emails because you never know, you're probably getting a lot of emails from different colleges and you never know which one can be a fee waiver and which one's not. And sending your official SAT scores and ACT scores through the respective websites. In order for you to send your SAT scores and your ACT scores, you need to go on the College Board website. So College Board website, it has an option for you to send your scores, and the ACT website as well. Each school has a code, and if you Google that code or go on the school's website that you're applying to, it'll tell you what the code is. So for CUNY, if you guys are applying to CUNY, when you send your SAT scores, don't send your SAT scores to each individual CUNY because that's going to cost you a lot of money. Instead, send it to the CUNY Central Processing System, which is one code that goes to all schools. So make sure that, just keep that in the back of your mind when you're applying, and also ask your guidance counselors about it. So, and all of these scores can be sent through the College Board. That's the only way to do it. You need to send them to your College Board because your College Board is the only one that can verify that this is the actual score. Okay, so this is the last part. We're talking about essays here. So before I go into essays, does anyone have any questions? Yes. Early action?
So can you just explain the difference between rolling admission and early action? Like those kind of applications that are
Sure. Okay, so the question was, can you explain the difference between rolling admission, early decision, and early action? So rolling admission just means that you can apply anytime up until the deadline. And for some schools, they tend to, the earlier you get it in, the earlier they'll look at your application, but it doesn't mean that you'll receive a decision any earlier than anyone else. But once again, it's always good to get your applications in early so you don't have to worry about it at the end of the semester when you're frantically trying to, put together all your mid-years and all that stuff. There's spots, yeah, on a rolling basis. Yeah, but they're not obliged to. Like, they can do it however way they want. So some schools with rolling admission, they'll let you know sooner, and some of them will just be like, well, get your application in whenever, but we're still going to let you know on the date, because CUNY does that. CUNY, you could apply anytime until February, and they start responding probably like maybe March, but some people apply really early and they hear back in May. So it really depends on the school. But with early decision and early action, that's very different. So for early action, there's usually a separate deadline for early action. And if you get your application in early, you're basically telling the college, like, I want to be here, I'm sending in my application early. So you will get your decision, like, whether or not they want to accept you, or they do accept you earlier, but you are not required to go. Like, if you receive it through early action, if you apply early action, you receive your admittance, you're not required by law to go. But if you do early decision, you're like contractually obligated to attend that school. So oftentimes, like early decision, also talk to your guidance counselors and to your parents. Because if you do early decision with any school, if it's private, usually it's private schools that do it, you have to go to that school. And since you have to go to that school, they might offer you a lower financial aid package. So make sure you discuss it with your parents first, discuss it with your counselors, because it's a really big decision. You're basically saying, like, I am going to go to school and that's it, and you have to reject everything else. Good? Any more questions? Any questions from the parents? Okay, so we're going to go into the essays. So the top is, these are two examples of essays. So they are very similar in terms of the idea. Like, it was a student trying to explain the exact same event that happened to them. So the prompt here was evaluate a significant experience, achievement, risk you have taken, or ethical dilemma you have faced and its impact on you, which this prompt, I believe, is still one of the Common App questions up to this day. So the first essay excerpt goes like this. So one significant experience I had was when I camped out in the wilderness with my dad for 2 weeks last summer. That was a very buggy experience, but more than the leftover scars from branch wounds and brambles are left with me. I think I grew up on that trip. I had never camped before, and now my father thought it would be good for us to bond away from civilization. We packed and headed out, not for a campground with tent sites and shower rooms. We headed for the back regions of swamps and raspberry bushes, at least 1,000 miles from home and regular communication. Now compare that with the second one. Returning to Peru to visit my father's homeland, I was disturbed by the significant pollution, land degradation, unsustainable practices, and lack of clean water surrounding me. The memory of a destitute boy surrounded by waste, consuming water from a filthy communal tap in a dilapidated shantytown of Lima, Peru, still haunts me. Exploration drives discovery. This pivotal experience formulated my passion and career objective, preserving the environment and protecting our resources. So which one do you guys think is better, number one or number two? So can you guys give me reasons why you think number two is a lot better? They use big words. Okay, fair enough. It's not only about words. Yeah, go ahead. So they're talking about what? Okay, so she said talking about important things that have an impact on you. Okay, so how about, I saw a hand in the back. Go ahead. So what Rama said in the back is that they talked about something that they wanted to do. So if they're applying to a college that is really big on environmental sustainability, the second person said, this is my career objective, right? So you have to tailor your essays to the colleges that you want to apply to. So if you're really interested in business or in environmental science or in in being a doctor or whatever type of career you're interested in, you need to have that show in your personal statement. So I just wanted to highlight a few things here, also in terms of the language that they use. So as you can see, essay number 2, it's a lot shorter, right? That's because it gets to the point a lot quicker and in a more efficient manner. So if you look at essay number 1, it says, I think I grew up on that trip. So you think, you're not sure. So that shows that you don't have the confidence to assert that, yes, I have actually grown up on that trip. They're trying to see like an experience that has made you grow as a person. So one thing that I also learned from like so many years of writing and stuff like that, instead of saying like I think I did this or like that, like you need to be more assertive in terms of your language. Don't use qualifiers. So, and this is also stuff that you guys can reach out to me or any one of the servants about, and we'll be more than happy to help you. And also think about the topics that you want to write about like, it takes a lot of self-reflection to think about like a good enough topic that will compel readers and will also be interesting to read about and also describes who you are as a person. So that leads into the next slide. Just quickly, a few bullets. So as I mentioned, write about a personal experience. Don't write about, like, a lot of people talk about, like, you know, they had a sickness in the family or a death in the family and that inspired them to be a better person. And before they know it, they find that they're writing their entire paper about this other person rather than themselves and how they grew from that experience. Be specific. Don't try to include everything. It's better to pick one small moment of an interaction rather than try to generalize and talk about the entire experience. And talk about something unique and different. You know, if you volunteer at a hospital, a lot of people volunteer at a hospital. Why was your experience different from this other person's experience at the hospital? What moved you? You need to talk about those specific things that really stuck out to you. Answer the question too. You'd be surprised how many people, you know, go around the question and they have so many thoughts in their head. That kind of goes hand in hand with being specific. And avoid hot topics. A lot of us talk about religion, about war, about our political opinions, stuff like that. You never know what type of background these admissions counselors are from, so you don't want to like offend them or anger them or upset them, especially in this, like, you know, your opinions are yourself. By all means, when you get to college, you can take classes that reflect your opinions and share your beliefs, but just for the sake of this essay, try to keep it about yourself and about experiences that have happened to you that have led you to grow. And lastly, one of the biggest points is edit, edit, and edit, and edit more, and edit. So you have all of us here. I can't stress it enough. Feel free to get our emails, our numbers. We'll be more than happy to help you. Get everyone that you know to read this paper of yours. Because sometimes your friends, they know things about you that you might not even have sat down and reflected about yourself. So it's super important that you try and share it with as many people as possible. Your mom, like, you know, your parents are amazing because your parents sometimes they don't know like exactly what you're doing in school or work and stuff like that. So if you're reading an essay to them and they're like, wait, I don't know what you mean by this, that means it's not clear to the reader. So you need to elaborate on it more, or you need to, like, you know, give it more of a dimension. So read it to people that might not know what you're doing, and that's really helpful as well. Question was, should your essay be submitted at the same time as your application? So yes and no, because it depends on the college. So I know for CUNY, you get everything in at one time. For SUNYs also, you get everything in at one time. Common App, there's usually a deadline. Sometimes like you can upload your certain recommendations and stuff like that, but by that deadline, everything should be submitted. So it depends on the college, and you need to also check in with your guidance counselors. Any other questions? Any questions from the parents? Okay. So now you've applied to college, you're chilling, right? You finish your SATs, you're really excited about going to college, and you're really tempted to do what? Slack off, right? Have senioritis. So we all have gotten senioritis. I know the feeling. You go to school in sweats, right? And you just sleep through all your classes. But don't be like me. Instead, you need to maintain your grades. You need to check in with your guidance counselors, because just because you're accepted in a college does not mean that they can rescind your acceptance. If they see your GPA like completely drop off the grid, they're like, what is going on with this person? We do not want that type of character in our school, and they might rescind your acceptance. There's also mid-year reports. So your guidance counselors usually ask you for your mid-year GPA and your transcripts, and they send them out to your colleges, because colleges want to know how you're doing, after you've gotten your acceptance. So make sure you don't slack off, that you're still working hard, and that you're still staying vigilant. Keep in touch with your college counselors. If let's say you have a really tough decision to make, you've gotten accepted to both your dream colleges and you didn't really expect that coming, stay in touch with them. Talk to your parents. See what the pros and cons are. if like, you know, we're going to probably talk about this next week and maybe a little bit today. If you got accepted into a med school in CUNY and like a med school all the way in Buffalo, like which one is going to be like, you know, better off in the future? You're going to still get your medical degree, but are you going to leave your parents in debt, or are you going to graduate debt free? Is it going to be close to home, far away? Like there are different options that you can weigh. If you're going to get the same type of education, the same degree, then you need to look at it from a more rational standpoint rather than just say, I want to go away and I want to do whatever I want. So you need to weigh the options and involve your parents in this decision, because in the long run, they're always there for you. So you need to always think about it from both sides of the coin. So if there's no more questions, I'm done. Thank you so much for listening.